Imagine a fortune so vast that no one has ever been able to measure it. A fortune so enormous that a single man, simply by giving it away as he traveled, could collapse the economy of an entire region and leave it broken for more than a decade. This is not a fable. It is history. 700 years ago, there lived a man who was richer than any human being who has ever existed. Richer than any pharaoh, any emperor, any king, any billionaire who would ever come after him. His name was Mansa Musa, and the empire he ruled was so dazzling with gold that the distant kingdoms of Europe could scarcely believe such a place was real. And yet, the most astonishing part of this story is not how it rose. It is how it ended. Because within 2 centuries, this empire, the richest power on the face of the earth, would vanish almost without a trace. Its golden cities would be swallowed by the desert. Its libraries would burn and scatter, and its name would fade so completely from the memory of the world that, today, most people have never heard it at all. This is the story of how the greatest fortune in human history was built, and how it crumbled into dust. To understand the man, you must first understand the land that made him. Far to the south of the Sahara, where the great Niger River bends through the grasslands of West Africa, an empire rose in the 13th century. It was called Mali, and beneath its soil lay the source of its impossible wealth: gold. The earth here was threaded with it, in the riverbeds, in the hills, in mines worked by hands that had pulled gold from the ground for generations. At a time when the whole of medieval Europe was starved for precious metal, when kings melted down their treasures to pay their debts, Mali produced gold in quantities that seemed to have no end. Some historians believe that, at its height, this single empire may have supplied a vast share of all the gold circulating in the medieval world. It was not a kingdom that happened to have gold. It was a kingdom built upon a mountain of it. But gold buried in the ground is worth nothing. Its true power lay in the ability to move it, to carry it across one of the most lethal landscapes on earth. To the north of Mali stretched the Sahara, an ocean of sand and stone larger than the United States, where a traveler could die of thirst within sight of nothing at all. And across this ocean ran the trade routes, invisible highways followed by caravans of thousands of camels, plodding for weeks between distant oases. South across the desert came salt, mined in slabs from the deep Sahara, and worth, to those who lacked it, almost its weight in gold. North went the gold of Mali, flowing toward the markets of North Africa, and beyond them into Europe and the Islamic world. Whoever controlled these routes controlled the wealth of half the known world, and Mali controlled them. Every caravan, every trade, every ounce of gold and salt that crossed that desert fed the power of a single throne. This was the engine of an empire, and into the heart of that engine, in the year 1312, stepped the man who would become a legend. His title was Mansa, King of Kings, Emperor. His name was Musa, and under his rule, Mali swelled to the height of its power, stretching across an expanse of West Africa, larger than all of Western Europe combined, a realm of cities and farmland, of mosques and markets, of gold and salt and the routes that carried them. He commanded armies. He ruled over millions. He sat at the summit of the wealthiest state of his age. And yet, for all of this, Mansa Musa is not remembered for the size of his empire, or the strength of his armies, or the length of his reign. He is remembered across 7 centuries for a single journey, a journey so extravagant, so staggering in its display of wealth, that the world has never forgotten it. Mansa Musa was a devout Muslim, and in the year 1324, he resolved to make the pilgrimage to Mecca, the sacred journey every Muslim hopes to make at least once in their life. But an emperor does not travel as an ordinary pilgrim. According to the accounts that have survived, his caravan was a moving city. Tens of thousands of people are said to have followed him across the desert. soldiers, officials, servants, and attendants, along with a vast train of camels. Each one, it was written, laden with gold. When this glittering procession reached Cairo, one of the greatest cities in the world, it stopped the city in its tracks. And here, Mansa Musa did something that would echo through history. He spent, he gave. With overwhelming, almost careless generosity, he handed out gold to merchants, to officials, to the poor in the streets, in such enormous quantities that he flooded the entire city with it. But gold, like anything else, is only valuable when it is rare. And suddenly, in Cairo, it was not rare at all. The price of gold collapsed. The value of the local currency was thrown into chaos. And by some accounts, it took more than 10 years for the economy of the region to recover from the visit of a single traveler passing through on his way to pray. Think about that. One man, simply by being generous, had broken the economy of one of the great cities of the medieval world. That is how rich Mansa Musa was. When the emperor finally returned home, he came back not only richer in legend, but transformed in ambition. He had seen the great cities of the Islamic world, and he resolved to make his own empire a beacon to match them. He brought back scholars, poets, and architects, and he poured his fortune into his cities, above all, into one whose name would become a byword for the ends of the earth: Timbuktu. Under Mansa Musa and the rulers who came after him, Timbuktu blossomed into one of the great centers of learning in the entire medieval world. Within its walls rose universities and libraries holding, by some estimates, hundreds of thousands of manuscripts, works of science, law, poetry, astronomy, and faith. Scholars traveled from across Africa and the Middle East to study and teach there. Great mosques of mud brick climbed against the desert sky, their strange and beautiful forms unlike any architecture on earth. For a time, this lonely city at the edge of the Sahara was a blazing heart of knowledge and trade, a city of gold and ink. And far away, in the courts of Europe, mapmakers who had never set foot in Africa began to draw a single figure at the bottom of their maps: a king upon a golden throne, holding a glittering nugget aloft. They had heard the rumors of a land impossibly rich, ruled by the wealthiest man alive. Mali was no longer merely powerful. It had become a myth. But here is the cruel truth that every empire in history has learned, and every empire in history has forgotten. Gold cannot hold a kingdom together. Power can, but power is fragile, and it depends on something far less glittering than treasure. It depends on order, on loyalty, on a clear and unbroken line of authority that everyone agrees to obey. And when Mansa Musa died, that order began slowly to fail. The rulers who followed him were not his equal. The throne passed through weaker and less certain hands, and the disputes over who should hold it grew sharper with each passing reign. Where there had once been a single, unquestioned center of power, ambition and rivalry began to gnaw at the edges. Distant provinces, which had obeyed a great emperor, began to test the will of his lesser successors and found it wanting. The very trade routes that had made Mali the richest empire on earth now made it something else. A prize, watched hungrily by rivals who could see that the giant was beginning to stumble. The decline did not announce itself. There was no single day on which the empire fell. It was a slow leak, so gradual that, for a long time, almost no one living through it understood what was happening at all. Not into that growing weakness came the rivals who had been waiting. To the east, along the same great river, a new power was rising, the kingdom of Songhai. And as Mali weakened, Songhai grew bold. One by one, the lands that had belonged to Mali began to slip from its grasp. And then came the blow that struck at the empire's very soul. The great city of Timbuktu, the jewel of Mali, the city of gold and ink, passed out of Malian hands and into the grip of others. The trade routes that had been the empire's lifeblood were seized. and without the wealth that had flowed along them for centuries, there was less and less reason and less strength to hold the empire together at all. Mali did not die in a single catastrophe. There was no final, glorious battle, no dramatic end worthy of its golden beginning. Instead, it bled. It shrank, decade by decade, century by century, from the mightiest power in West Africa to a fractured shadow of itself, until at last it was little more than a memory, clinging to a sliver of the vast realm it had once commanded. The richest empire the medieval world had ever known dissolved, slowly and almost silently. The empire of Mansa Musa is gone. The great caravans no longer cross the desert. The trade routes have fallen silent. The libraries of Timbuktu, once the envy of the world, were broken apart and scattered over the centuries by conquest, by neglect, by sand, and by war. Only a fraction of their treasures survive. And the man who is richer than anyone who has ever lived, whose gold reshaped the fortunes of distant nations, is, to most of the world, nothing more than a half-remembered name, if he is remembered at all. But perhaps that is the truest lesson the ruins have always offered, in every age, on every continent, to anyone willing to listen. No fortune is so vast that it cannot vanish. No empire is so golden that it cannot fall. The gold of Mali could not save it. The wealth that raised it could not hold it. And in the end, the richest empire on the face of the earth became what every empire, without exception, has one day become: silence and ruins and dust. The question was never whether the great and the powerful would fall. History had already answered that. The only question, the one no empire has ever wished to ask,